We keep inching closer and closer to the NHL trade deadline, and last night we saw a couple deals, so let's talk about them. The first one, we have Michael McCarron going from the Nashville Predators to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a second-round pick this season. A pretty hefty price considering the fact that we were told that this is a buyer's market, but the Minnesota Wild and Bill Guerin don't care about that. He said to The Athletic's Michael Russo, that second-round pick's not going to help us right now. The Wild are all in this season. They traded for Quinn Hughes, and they're looking to make a deep playoff run in a competitive Central Division. So the Wild are getting Michael McCarron, a 6'6", 30-year-old forward. He can play down the middle or on the wing. He's in the final year of a contract paying him $900,000 this season and only has $210,000 to be paid out. McCarron's a fourth-line physical defensive forward. He doesn't have a lot of offense. 5 goals, 7 assists for 12 points this season in 59 games. However, he's a pest to play against. 160 hits this season. He wins battles. He blocks a ton of shots, 7th amongst forwards in block shots. He's 8th amongst forwards in penalty kill time, and Nashville's penalty kill is ranked 13th in the league, an area that Minnesota needs to improve in. They're all the way down at 21st. He's also 4th in terms of defensive zone face-off wins, which is an important thing for Minnesota considering some of their centermen aren't great in the circle, like Danila Yurov, who's a rookie. When you look at the Wild's lineup, I think that Bill Guerin is really trying to emulate what the Florida Panthers did with their team in their bottom 6. Florida has a ton of star talent, two-way players in their top 9, but then their fourth line, it's usually just a bunch of physical, pests to play against, like AJ Greer, Ryan Lomberg a couple years ago, Thomas Nosek. And then when you look at the Wild here, they have guys like Marcus Foligno, who's hurt right now, Ryan Hartman, Yakov Trenin, who's leading the league in hits by far, and now you add Michael McCarron to that. So I feel like that is kind of what Bill Guerin's trying to do here. However, the Wild still do need a top 6 center. You have Eriksson Ek, who I think is an excellent second-line center. He's such an underrated player, but he needs support. You can't have the second-line center being Hartman or Yurov, which is why I definitely think that they're not done. They're going to go out and try and acquire a top 6 center, whether that's Vinny Trocheck, who's been heavily linked to the Wild for a while now, or maybe it's someone like Nazem Kadri, who has some term left. It'll be interesting to see what the Wild decide to do. In terms of assets, they're definitely kind of depleted after the Quinn Hughes trade. They have some prospects like Charlie Stramel, Adam Benek, who's playing very well in the OHL right now, and then Yurov, Wallstead if you want to make a big swing, or maybe Hlavai, who was just playing very well for Slovakia at the Olympics. Maybe there's some value he has to capitalize on. In terms of draft picks, they don't have a first or a second this year. They don't have a second for the next 3 seasons, but rounds 3 to 7, they do have a good amount of picks on top of this year's and next year's firsts. But overall for the Wild, it's a hefty price, but I understand the logic. Now the other deal, you have Cole Smith going to Vegas in exchange for a 2026 third-round pick. And this is kind of similar to the McCarron move. Cole Smith is a 30-year-old physical, defensively responsible fourth liner. His contract's up at the end of this season, only makes $1 million. Really just a depth piece for Vegas. Smith's a regular penalty killer, but Vegas already has a pretty good penalty kill. When you look at their lineup, keep in mind they are missing a few players due to injury like Stone, like William Karlsson and Brett Howden, but they definitely have a very solid forward core. The defense is decent, but I think the goaltending is the biggest issue. Adin Hill has been terrible this year. Carter Hart, when he was healthy, wasn't good. And Akira Schmid is okay. But if Vegas wants to make it out of the Pacific Division and then actually compete with the teams from the Central, they need a goalie to step up. Maybe that's Adin Hill or Akira Schmid. Those guys have had moments in the past before, but I think they could definitely be in the market for a goalie, maybe Jordan Bennington. Then when you're looking at Nashville, they had a solid stretch during this season, but they're 5 points outside of the wild card spot right now. And if they make the playoffs, they're going to get stomped on by a Colorado or Vegas, whoever wins the division. So they're just doing the right thing, selling off their expiring contracts. You get a second and a third round pick in exchange for 2, fourth line players basically. And Nashville's quietly been really stockpiling the draft capital. They've got a first, 2 seconds, 2 fourths, 3 fifths this season. They've got 4 thirds next season, 2 fourths, and then in 2028 they have 2 seconds and 2 thirds. So 31 total picks over the next 3 seasons. They're an old team, they're not that good, and I hope for the sake of the future they do actually just continue to sell off. They have their UFAs like Eric Holla, Michael Bunting, Tyson Jost, they could definitely bring back some solid capital. I think Holla is going to be a coveted piece. Same with Bunting. Nick Blankenberg, he's had an excellent season actually on the back end, but he's UFA, as well as Nick Perbix, who's up next season. Those are two right shot defensemen that could bring back some decent value, whether that's draft capital or young players. And then you also have the guys like Ryan O'Reilly, like Steven Stamkos. And I don't know if they're going to move on from them this year, but Ryan O'Reilly in this market, if a guy like Michael McCarron gets a second, Riley's going to get like a first plus a great prospect. But overall, tidy work. I'd say for trade grades, I'd give Nashville gets an A+ for these moves, and then Minnesota and Vegas probably get like a C+. But ultimately, if they win the cup, then no one's going to care. So yeah, those are my thoughts on these couple of deals here. Let me know yours down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. It looks like Tyler Myers just got sent to Dallas, so we'll talk about that later.